A weak dad is no dad. This is a video that I've really been wanting to do for a while, and this one really hits home with me because a lot of the bitterness and maybe even, I guess you could call it hatred or resentment that I have for relationships that haven't worked out in the past, I never so much held my resentment towards the girls. It was always towards their fathers, you know? Because I know if they had instilled the values in them that they needed, they would have become much better women that were more responsible and could handle a relationship. And, we could have had much more, right? I always blame the father because here's the thing, right? A weak dad is no dad, right? Remember that. So, when I was a little bit younger, I'm 22 right now, and I know I talk like I'm a 60-year-old man, like when I was a little bit younger, but no, when I was like 15, 16, first getting into the dating game, I was always told by, the pickup guys that I would listen to, because I would listen to certain dating coaches and, relationship guys, and they would always say, you want to go for a girl that has a dad, right? You don't want to date a girl that doesn't have a dad, right? So I thought to myself, oh, that makes sense. Girls with dads, they probably have less emotional issues. They're probably more stable. And to a degree, that is true. To a small degree, that is true, right? So I'm like, awesome. All I have to do is find a girl that has a dad, and then I'm set. And then I'm good, right? I just have to find a girl that has a dad. And of course, with every other beautiful, sweet, saying there is, it always turns out to be untrue, right? As common as every other, beautiful lie we are told, it always ends up being a lie, right? So here's it's actually kind of true, but it's mostly a lie. And I'll go into what I'm talking about, right? Most fathers are weak. Most fathers, I'd say a good, especially in America, right? I'm saying a good 97 to 98% of dads. Now, you got to remember, most women grow up without dads, right? Maybe not most, but there's a lot of women from single parent households, single mom households, just like the boys, right? So you already subtract them out of the equation. Now you have a smaller group that has dads now, right? Of let's say 50 girls have a dad. 49, if not 50 of those dads these days are weak men. Okay, they're not even real men. They're not instilling the values in their daughters to become the women they need to be. They're not telling them, look, every man you have sex with becomes a part of you. Look, hold out until marriage. Give your virginity up to the man you're going to marry. Don't you dare settle and just get passed around by all these guys. These dads don't think, it blows my mind that these fathers do not think to tell their daughters what to look out for. They let them leave the house dressed all kinds of ways. They let them leave the house in short shorts and push-up bras. They let them drink. They let them do drugs. They don't police their daughters. They don't monitor their daughters. They don't instill the values in their daughters that they need to not be reckless and to not be whores. And it's really mind-blowing to me. It's really, really mind-blowing to me how this happens. And their daughters end up just as bad as the daughters that came from single mother households because the dads just don't play their part. I know the laws are against us and everything, but there's still a lot you can do to make sure your daughters turn out good. But these dads, they just let their daughters walk all over them. These dads believe the independent woman hype. These dads believe, oh, I should let her date, I should let her have experiences. Like, they believe this is good for their daughters. They're clueless. They don't know what the hell they're doing, right? So, it's really not much different than the girls who didn't have dads, And, let me think here. So, like, for example, Jasmine, from a girl named Jasmine. Her parents were like the Huxtables, right? Her parents, they lived in a great, mansion. The dad is a great breadwinner. The mom seems like a nice lady. But the dad never instilled the values in his daughter. They grew up in the great house. They went to, like, private schools. They did all that, fairy tale raise your kids right on paper. On paper, they raised their kids right. But her dad never had those one-on-one conversations with her. He never had a heart-to-heart with her and said, look, you shouldn't be having sex, before marriage. You shouldn't be getting pregnant like she did. You should value yourself more. You shouldn't let, you shouldn't let guys inside of you. You shouldn't. She didn't drink or smoke or anything. I'll give her that. Her dad did that much. He taught her how to cook and clean. He taught her not to do drugs or drink. But the one area he dropped the ball, and this is the most important area, he didn't teach her how to keep her legs closed, okay? So she goes around, gets pumped and dumped, gets pregnant, has a kid, becomes a single mom. Boom. Social market value is destroyed. Okay. All that great parenting, all those trips to Hawaii and private school and all the stuff that her dad paid for and did for her, boom, out the window. Oh, boom, done. It's over. Because you didn't teach her the most valuable lesson of all. And this is the one lesson dads need to teach their daughters above everything, above going to college, above getting a great job, above, everything, is keep your legs closed and wait for the right man. I mean, my God, hold higher standards, hold higher values. If a decent looking woman just holds herself to high standards and makes it very clear, and she's adamant that she is not going to sleep with a man until the right one that is serious about her comes along, the right man will rise to the challenge, okay? The right man. I know we live in times where men are very feminized and weak and non-masculine and don't really know how to be men, but there are still just enough of them out there to where if a woman really holds herself to that standard, assuming she's still young, she's not in her 40s or 50s, she hasn't had a kid, all that baggage, that man will rise to the challenge, because that's what a man wants. A man wants a woman he can respect at the end of the day, right? A woman he knows hasn't been passed around and used and abused, right? And holds herself to a standard and has self-respect. Men actually find that attractive, especially the men she wants, whether she knows it or not. But it just blows my mind how these dads, they do everything right except the most important thing of all, which is teaching their daughters how to hold out for the right man. It blows my mind. Blows my mind. They put them through private school. They feed them the best food. They buy them the best cars. They send them to the expensive colleges. They do everything. They take them on the nice trips, family ski trips and whatnot. But the biggest lesson of all, they do not teach them, They do not teach them how to keep their legs closed and value their sexuality. And like the master teacher Warren Lance says, protect their imprint, right? These fathers don't even know what the imprint is. They don't even know how to protect their daughters. They don't even understand that when their daughters have sex, these men are becoming a part of their daughters forever. You dropped the ball, man. You screwed the pooch. You did everything right. You did everything right except the most important part. All of that, all those other things I talked about, that's like 30% of the equation. But 70, no, you know what? That's like 15 to 20% of the equation. But 80% of what matters is making sure your daughter keeps her legs closed pretty much and doesn't get used and abused by the wrong guys, right? And dads totally drop the ball in this area. And I have so many dads that come to mind. So many of girls I've dealt with in the past, I'm like, dude, she was so close to being like worthy of being with. Like, she had all these great qualities. She almost had it. We almost could have done it. And I know if her dad had just instilled that missing value in her, we could have had something real. You know what I'm saying? I've had women who can cook, who can clean, who are submissive, who are sensitive, who are feminine and loving, but there's always, and they were all missing the one thing, right? And that is that their dads didn't teach them how to keep their legs closed, and that might sound kind of blunt or brutish or whatever, but that's just the cold hard truth, man. These dads do not protect their daughters from predatory players and stuff like that, They don't. I don't know why. They just throw them to the wolves. It blows my mind. So remember, guys, when someone tells you, oh, you need to find a girl who has a father, a weak dad is no dad, all right? And as far as I'm concerned, it's almost the same as a woman who grew up with a single mother, A weak dad is no dad.